If you're looking for something new that has a weird gimmick to throw off your opponents, then consider giving this deck a try because it's going to be getting more support later on. So that means it's only going to get better from here. What's going on, my friend? This is SynchroGuy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Magistus cards that came out recently. And these new cards, well, most of them, have been revealed to be part of the Jump Fist promotional packs for the OCG this month, and the rest are going to be coming out as Vita promos for them. So obviously that means we don't know exactly when we're going to get them here in the TCG. They'll probably just be like part of the OCG inputs for one of our main booster sets, or just like in a side set or something. But regardless, these new Magic cards, they're pretty good. And the reason this archetype's been getting a bunch of new support lately is because of the OCG stories manga that's been going on. You may recall the fact that Sky Strikers got in manga story that told a bit about their lore a while back. Well, after their story concluded, it was Magistus' turn, and that's why they're getting so much brand new support, just like Sky Striker did. Also, if you've not read the OCG stories manga, I highly recommend that you do. It is so good, especially if you're a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, these stories are really cool. Like you get to learn more about the monsters. As some monsters get cameos, pretty much cameos, which is cool. And it's also really fun because, well, of the fact that we know what their future is gonna be like. Anyway, real quick, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ding that notification bell so you get more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. Now, before we get into the rest of the new cards, let's talk a little bit about the Magistus archetype in case you need a refresher. The Magistus archetype is a spellcaster archetype, well, except for a few exceptions, and they at least have one monster of every summoning type, which means they have a fusion monster, synchro monster, Xyz monster, and link monster. And their gimmick is to equip these extra deck monsters onto themselves, because these monsters have effects that you can activate when they are equipped. Like, there's one of them can do a search, the other one can snatch steal an opponent's monster. You get the point. Now, the main goal of this archetype is to summon out Zoroa, the Magistus Conflagrant. One sec. Zoroa, the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyway, his effect will prevent your opponent from activating the effects of their extra deck monsters so long as you have a Magistus monster in your spell and trap zone of the same card type. So that means if you have every single Magistus card type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link in your spell and trap zone, you will be able to prevent them from activating their effects, which is, so that might be very tough for them, especially if they're like a very combo heavy focus deck. And while that may be very cool, these days though, sometimes that's not enough. Like, in today's war, we still have a bunch of really good main deck monsters that a lot of decks can go into to try to remove threats like Zoroa. Like if this deck is playing against Snake Eyes, they just need to summon one Flamberger's Dragon and problem dealt with. Yeah, so, and that's why these new support cards are gonna try to come and help out to deal with, possible threats like that. So with all that information, let's see what these brand new Magistus cards bring to the table for the archetype. First up, we have Spoon, the Seal of Magistus, and his effect reads, you can discard this card, then activate one of these effects. Add one Magistus monster from your deck to your hand, except Spoon, the Seal of Magistus, or have the attack of one face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one face-up monster you control. Equip it with one Magistus monster from your extra deck or graveyard. You can only use each effect of Spoon the Seal of Magistus once per turn. Okay, now this card is really good for the deck. Again, like, the deck had like a searcher before, but it was like it was in the form of the Artemis Link monster, so if your opponent was able to stop you from equipping that, then that was probably going to be a very tough time. But now with this, you don't have to, you get a search just like straight away, which is really good. And the other effect to have an attack of opponent's monster, I mean, it's like going turn 1, it's just like, it's there if you need it, but you probably won't need to focus in on it too much. But again, it's like, it's there if you need it. It's nice to have, but you'll be most likely using Spoon as a searcher. But his other effect, the Graveyard effect, to banish it to equip a Magistus monster from your action or graveyard, that is awesome. That is really good. And that's another thing a lot of the Magistus monsters can do, but having more of this definitely helps out the deck. So in Magistus deck, you want to run this guy at 3 copies. Next up, we have Crowley, the Gift of Magistus, and his effect reads, if this face-up card is used as fusion material, its name can be treated as Alistair the Invoker. You can only use each of the following effects of Crowley, the Gift of Magistus once per turn. If this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, you can special summon it. If this card is no more special summon, you can fusion summon one Magistus or invoke fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as material. That is awesome. Okay, so with this card, the Magistus archetype now has access to some of the invoked stuff, so that is cool. So that means this deck can now use Invoke Macabre, which is a really good card, a really good negate. And on the fact that you could just perform the fusion summon upon being normal or special summon, that is awesome. So not to mention, if you search your hand and add it to your hand, you can then just special summon straight to the deal. That's a good way to keep extending plays and just fuse into some really strong monsters. And we got some other fusion monsters that you'll probably want to go into with this deck. Now in Magistus deck, you will probably want to run this card at like 2 to 3 copies. You kind of more so want to search it out just to get that free extension. But you know, if you draw into your opening hand, it's not too bad, because again, you can still trigger the effect upon being normal summon. So it's like, yeah, so like 2 to 3 copies, like 1 to 2, you pick. Next up, we have one of the brand new fusion monsters, Magistus Chorozo. I hope I pronounced that right. Anyway, his text reads: 1 fusion synchro link monster plus 1 spellcaster monster. Must first be either fusion summon or special summon from your extra deck by sending 1 fusion, synchro, or link monster card and 1 spellcaster monster card you control to the graveyard. Once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can target it, negate the attack, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's until the end of this turn. Then you can return that monster to the hand. Okay, so this is really good. So first off, he's really easy to summon out in the Magistus deck. Like, if you have like some Magistus monsters already in like your spell and trap zones, you could just send those to the graveyard to get this guy out. Like, that's how easy it is to summon him out. Not only that, he is potentially good super poly target, even like outside of its archetype. Like, again, like if your deck plays like a spellcaster monster and you're going against an opponent that's playing in just any extra decks, which should not be too hard to find. Just like, yeah, this like good super poly target can remove possible threats. So yeah, not to mention he's a tuner monster as well, and that is helpful because, well, again, Magistus have an extra deck of every summoning type, so you get to go into some secret plays, including one of your boss monster, Zoroa. And also level 4 is also really good because, well, the other Magistus monsters are all level 4s, and not to mention their archetype has some good rank 4 Xyz monsters, so yeah. Now the attack negation effect is like, it's like also another one, just like niche, it's just there. Now, you won't be using it a whole lot, but it's just still, it's like if you need to get some, big damage, like, that could be one thing, and it's like, you might, who knows, maybe you can even catch your opponent off guard. They try to attack recklessly, like, just, But anyway, if you're going to be playing this card, you're going to play just 1 copy of it. Like, you definitely want to play this card in Magistus deck, and 1 copy is all you're going to need. Next up, we have the brand new version of Zoroa. Zoroa, the Magistus victorious Verethragna. Verethragna. Anyway, his text reads: 1 Magistus monster plus 1 fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monster. You can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls or in your graveyard. Equip that effect monster to this card. When a monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can send 1 face-up Magistus monster card you control to the graveyard. Negate that effect. Then you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. You can only use each effect of Zoroa, the Magistus victorious Verethragna, once per turn. So yeah, this guy is like, he's a really good monster to put side by side with your other Zoroa, or if you can't get into your synchro Zoroa, you got the fusion ones as like kind of a backup. He's really easy to get into. Like, again, you just need 1 Magistus monster, 1 fusion single Xyz or link monster. Search is like, that is super easy. And again, not to mention, he's like, this gives the deck another reason to just tech in super poly against the opponent. Just summon a Magistus monster and just super poly away your Magistus monster with any extra deck monster your opponent has, and then bam. But again, being able to pair this guy side by side with your other Zoroa definitely helps, because now if your opponent does try to remove your synchro Zoroa, you've got this guy to help protect it. Not to mention, he's also got a way to just equip any your opponent's monsters onto itself, so it's a good way to remove some possible threats. And of course, if you do the negation part, you also get like a nice little pop effect, which can be very good. So if you're gonna play in the Magistus deck, I would agree with like what I've been seeing so far, and like play this card 2 copies. Yes, again, super easy to get into, and why would you not want to go in this card hard? Just like this, he can remove a threat and negate monster effects. Like, he's really good. So yeah, like 2 copies is like really good. Next up, we have the brand new Link monster, Endymion, the Crescent of Magistus, and his text reads: 2 monsters including a level 4 spellcaster monster. If this card is Link Summon, you can target one Magistus monster you control. Equip one Spellcaster monster from your graveyard or banishment to it. During the main phase, quick effect. You can target one Spellcaster monster card in your spell and trap zone, treat it as an equipped spell. Return it to the hand. You can only use one Endymion, the Crescent of Magistus effect per turn, and only once that turn. So on summon, you get to equip any spellcaster monster from your graveyard or banishment to it. That is really good. Of course, I mean should probably be given that's the gimmick of this deck. But also his quick effect to bounce back at any one of your Magistus monsters that's traced in an equipped spell. Now that kind of gives a reason to equip a non-extra deck Magistus monster, because I mean, you technically could just do that anyway with the deck, but you never had a really good reason to do so. But with this guy, like, you know, kind of a good reason to do so. So like, he can also pair with the new Crowley monster, so it's like if you got that Crowley monster equipped to any monster, you return it to the hand, and of course since it was added to the hand, not by being drawn, you can trigger its special summon effect and fusion summon like during your opponent's turn. That is really good. But of course, you could also try to tech this card like outside of its archetype if you're playing a deck that uses some spellcasters, well, specifically level 4 spellcaster monsters. The main idea I'm trying to get out of this is like, if you could possibly equip with any spellcaster monster that probably has like, say, an effect that gets triggered when sent to the graveyard, or if you just need to get like a resource added back to your hand for whatever reason. So just throwing out some food for thought. So in the Magistus deck, if you're gonna be playing this guy high, which I probably assume you probably will, you'll probably want this guy at like 1 or 2 copies. Like, I don't know really how badly you're really gonna need this. Like, play 1 copy at the very least, I will say. But it's like, actually with, you know, being tight as well, if you need to make some room, you could try cutting if you've been playing 2 of these cards. But yeah, it's like, this card he will definitely help. So I think it would be worth running as it, and if you do, it's like at least 1 copy at the very least. Moving on to the brand new spell cards, we have Verre Magic, the Lacrima of Light. And this card's text reads, this card is always treated as a Magistus and Witchcrafter card. Activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Verre Magic, Lacrima of Light once per turn. If you control a Magistus or Witchcrafter monster, send 1 Spellcaster monster or 1 spell from your deck to the graveyard. Or, when your opponent activates a card or effect, set also 1 Magistus or Witchcrafter monster from your hand or deck. That is cool. So with this card, like, if you try to do your playing, your opponent like tries to respond to it, you know, like trying to interrupt you or something, you can then chain this spell card and special summon out a free Magistus monster from the deck. That is really good. Or of course there's the mill effects, which, you know, for a Magistus deck, like, might be very helpful because again, you have the graveyard effects to help you equip your Magistus extra deck monsters to your other Magistus monsters. And that's also really cool that this spell can also be used. It's also like indirect support for Witchcrafters. You know, well, makes sense since it, you know, lore-wise, since it's, you know, this is the Witchcrafter leader, so. So if you're going to be playing this card in either a Magistus deck or Witchcrafter deck, like, I would say you play 3 copies of this card, because again, and like, it just help, and like, if it comes like a help-free extension if your opponent tries to interrupt you in some way, but if not, then you just get set a free mill just for whatever kind of graveyard effect that you need. And finally, we have Magia Magic Thor Hammer, and this card's text reads, this card is always treated as a Magistus and Endymion card. Send 1 other face-up Magistus card you control to the graveyard or remove 2 spell counters from your field. They activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Magia Magic the Thor Hammer once per turn. Special summon 1 spellcaster from your hand, face-up extra deck, or graveyard, or banish 1 card on the field. So just like the other spell card, this card can also be using the Magistus deck or Endymion deck, which is really awesome. In fact, it's like, you know, it's like you just get special summon out a spellcaster monster that you need from your hand, face-up extra deck, or graveyard, or you could just use it to banish a card on the field. Hell, like, that is really good. It's like, I will say, it's like it might be a little bit better in a Endymion deck, because for this you don't have to, because if compared to Magistus, you don't have to send a monster. You just need to remove 2 spell counters, which is like, I don't think it's gonna be very hurtful to lose 2 spellcasters in an Endymion deck. So if you're gonna be playing this card in a Magistus deck, play only just 1 copy. Like, you can search this card out very easily. So, and it's like, it doesn't really do much. Like, it's just like, you want to search this card out most of the time. But if you're gonna be playing this in an Endymion deck, and like, I would say like either anywhere from like 1 to 3 cards. Just like, if you just really need to see this card to help it really extend out your plays, or like, it's like you really can't go wrong with playing this. Because again, like, removing 2 spell counters on your field, like, that's nothing to fret about. Alright, so with all these brand new cards, how's the Magistus deck gonna look? Is it gonna be the new top tier meta? No. Sadly no. While this new support does help solve some issues that deck was having previously, the deck still has some other issues that it needs to be addressed. And because of that, this deck will most likely be focusing on using quite a good number of hand traps to try to make up for its weaknesses. So right now, I would say this deck is like probably rogue tier at the very best. That's like, I don't know if you'll be saying this like in your regionals. So if you want to have some fun on your local level, you might want to consider giving this deck a try, because I mean, it can still put up some like good eruptions. Especially with all this brand new support. Again, this new support is good, but they need a bit more. And luckily, since they still have their manga story going on right now, they might get some new support later on. Like, I'm expecting they will get a few brand new cards before the story will come to a full conclusion. Thank you so much for watching, my friend. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this brand new support and what kind of new support you hope to see this archetype get in the coming future. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you have /had an awesome day today.